Chapter 1. In this episode, I'll show you what this place looks like finished, the container garage, the gym, the storage container, the garden, and why it convinced even my neighbor to get his own containers. Chapter 2. Once we were mostly done inside, the gym set up, the workshop roughly arranged, Y1 insulation, OSB plates, the roof connections and so on, we moved back outside. For the foundations and the service trenches, we had taken out quite a lot of soil, especially in the area right in front of the garage. And now the goal was to bring the ground back to the original, or rather the new Plant Zero level. So we filled it back in the areas we had dug out, spread the soil, leveled it off nicely and compacted it, so we ended up with a clean flat transition in front of the doors, and the water still runs away from the building instead of pooling in front of the roll-up doors. Chapter 3. When that was done, we built a fairly generous paved area in front of the garage, because I didn't just want 2 parking spaces inside the garage, I also wanted the option to park cars outside in front, to turn around, to unload things, or even work on car outside if I felt like it. So not just a narrow strip in front of the doors, but an actual surface where you can comfortably turn, park 2 cars, and that makes the whole thing feel like a small courtyard. Chapter 4. In parallel, we added an extra storage container on the side of the garage, a 10-foot container with a side door, also painted in reed green, so the whole ensemble looks like a consistent one. We gave it its own pad footings again, shaped the ground a bit so it sits nice and level at the same height as the garage, and then we set that 10-foot container in place. The idea there was simple. That container acts as pure storage, things you don't need every day but have close by, like materials, toolboxes, seasonal stuff, all of that can live there instead of cluttering the main building. Chapter 5. We also still had the old side or storage container that had carried us through the whole build, the classic construction container where all sorts of things end up. We took that down in the same run and removed it from the property, so in the end there was really just the garage, the side storage container and the rest of the garden, and no temporary containers sitting there anymore. Chapter 6. Once the outside was in good shape, the backfilling was done, paved area in place, side storage container set, grass seed out, we went back to inside to finish things off. In the workshop, I gradually moved everything in, shelves and small workbench, sorted the tools, put boxes and crates where they belong, so it wasn't just an empty shell anymore, but a space where you can actually work without tripping over something all the time. Chapter 7. In the gym area, the floor was already prepared with the click tiles and the 1x1 meter rubber tiles, so then I placed the equipment properly. The racks, dumbbells and barbells, kettlebells, weight plates, a shelf for small items, a cabinet or a box for things you need every day. From that point, you could basically walk in, lights on, music on, and train. Chapter 8. The bathroom in the container was also important to me. There was already a window there, a tilt and turn window. We had daylight and ventilation. Then we first ran all the services, water and waste for the toilet and the basin, the pipework for the shower, of course electrical lines for lighting and instantaneous water heater. After that, we closed the walls again, sealed everything up cleanly and applied a double waterproofing on the surfaces that would later see water. Once the waterproofing had cured, we tiled the floor and fully tiled the walls, so we ended up with a clean watertight wet area. Only then the visible fixtures go in, the fittings of the basin and the toilet and the shower tray, the wall hung toilet, the basin itself and instantaneous water heater. In the end, it's a small but fully functional bathroom with everything you need, and you don't really notice anymore that you're actually standing inside an old shipping container. Chapter 9. When you look at the whole thing, As an ensemble, what you end up with is a garage where in winter 2 cars fit in comfortably, doors open without smashing them into sides, and in summer the cars tend to sit outside on the paved area, so the garage becomes a gym and a workshop. So you have space inside, space outside, and that area in front of the doors is no longer just muddy patch, but proper working and parking area where you can load, unload, or just park without sinking in. Chapter 10. And before we wrap up, there's a nice little side story. My neighbor watched the whole thing from the very beginning. He saw us tear down the old carport, dig and pour the foundations, modify the containers, and how the whole thing gradually took shape. And at some point, he was standing in my garden saying something along the lines of, "You know what? I think I need containers too." He then pretty quickly decided to get 2 of containers himself, also in reed green as storage and multi-purpose space on his own property. And because we already had the forklift and all the gear on site, we prepared a spot for him and set his 2 containers in place in the same run. So one project suddenly turned into a little container neighborhood. Chapter 11. In the end, you stand here, look at everything and think, out of an old rotten carport, this has become a really nice building. You can clearly see that's made from containers. That was the point, to keep the maritime shipping container character, but at the same time it's a deliberate contrast to our thatched roof house next to it. And that's exactly what makes it interesting. On the one side the classic thatched roof, on the other side this clean angular container garage in reed green. And yet it's all embedded in the plot in such a way that it looks as if nothing else ever had been there. It doesn't look like something randomly dropped onto the lawn. It feels like it was meant to be there from the very first beginning. And that's exactly what I wanted in the end. So that's the project. If you've watched the whole series up to this point, first of all, thank you for sticking with it. You've basically been with me from a rotten old carport all the way to a finished container garage with a gym, a workshop, storage, and a neighbor who now has his own containers. If there was a part that really stood out for you, maybe the crane day, the 8-foot playground, the way we joined containers together, or the whole groundworks and foundation piece, let me know in the comments. That helps me understand what kind of container content you actually want more of. If you're thinking about doing something similar yourself, check out the other episodes in this playlist. I've tried to show the good, the bad, and the ugly, not just the glossy finished shots. So you can learn from that what worked for us and from a couple of things we'd probably do different next time. I've got a few more container projects in mind and a lot of ideas around how to use containers in smarter ways, not just for garages, but also for storage, gyms, maybe living and tiny spaces. So if that sounds interesting, feel free to subscribe, stick around, and we will see each other in one of the next builds. I'm Andy and I know containers. See you in the next one.